thank you for joining us today. It gives me immense pleasure to host you all today, and I really look forward to an evening of enthralling dialogue, discourse, and contemplation. Uh, Omnichannel banking today sits at the very heart of how financial institutions actually engage with their customers. So it's no longer enough to simply be present on multiple channels. What really matters is creating a seamless journey where customers feel recognized and supported. Now, whether they walk into a branch, tap on their mobile apps, or speak with the relationship manager. Across the industry, we are seeing powerful forces shaping this shift, from generative AI using variety of large language models and real-time payments to digital identity and composable platforms. Now, at the same time, banks are actually contending with legacy systems, evolving customer expectations, and of course, the challenge of hyper-personalization at scale. Now, these dynamics make it an exciting and crucial moment to reflect on what is working, what is not, and where the future is headed. Now, to help us navigate this, I'm very delighted to welcome our guest speakers, Peter Wannemacher, Principal Analyst at Forrester, who advises leading financial institutions worldwide on digital transformation and customer experience. We also have on our panel Mr. Mukesh Bangia, who is Vice President at Nucleus Software, who brings deep experience in enabling banks to modernize, unify engagements, and transform customer journeys through technology. Together, their perspectives will set the stage for a very thought-provoking discussion. So without further ado, let's commence with this engaging discussion on omnichannel banking. Now, welcome, Peter. Welcome to the forum. The first question.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The first question that I would like to extend to you is that you particularly have been tracking the evolution of omnichannel globally. Now, how do you see banks having progressed in recent years, and where do the biggest gaps remain?
So thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here. What we see in our research is reasons for optimism, but some major challenges for banks, lenders, FIs in the omni-channel space. And in a moment, I'm going to break apart what omni-channel means, at least what we believe it means based on our research at Forrester. But I'll start with setting the stage, which is overall, banks, lenders, FIs are focused on improving customer experience. And omnichannel is a major piece of that, maybe arguably the most important piece of that. And we have some data to support that. I'll mention a bit of that. So first, we'll start with priorities at FIs. And the way we look at priorities in our work, at least in our surveys of business and technology leaders at banks and FIs, is starting by looking at outcomes. What outcomes are they trying to achieve as a bank, as an FI? Most banks cite CX, customer experience, as their top priority. And when we dig a little bit deeper, strengthening omni-channel efforts is one of the top 7 actions they plan to take to achieve that goal of improving CX. And maybe more to the point, because of course, achieving better CX, better customer experience, which then has downstream effects on their own business goals. Their certainly things like retention, but also things like cross-sell rates, deeper engagement, based profitability and scale. We asked business and technology executives in banking and financial services what they'll invest the most in over the next year. And this year, what we found was that more than 1 in 4 say omni-channel. So it is a priority. Now, of course, that means a large share are not. Some of them have, burning needs. Regulatory burdens are, of course, always a factor. But that's what we're seeing. So this matters. That's sort of point number 1, and I hope I've persuaded you and our audience that that's the case. All right, great. So omnichannel is crucial. As I said, it's arguably one of the most important factor in strengthening your customer experience as a bank, as a lender, and that has downstream impact or real business impact. Okay, but one of the questions we get a lot is often implicitly is, what is omnichannel? And here I'll point to some of our other research. So the research I've mentioned so far is a lot about what we hear from banks and FIs, executives, leaders at those banks and FIs. There's a problem though. When we look at our consumer research, consumer survey research, but also qualitative, ethnographic, journey mapping, those sort of methodologies, what we find is that people, consumers, customers, don't have omni-channel experiences. They move from one touch point to another when completing a specific task, and that is a cross-channel or cross-touch point behavior that has a big impact. It has a big impact on the customer satisfaction, on their view of the brand, and then it has a measurable effect on the FI's business outcomes. But it's important to note that while these are really prominent, and I'll give a data point in just a moment that I hope quantifies it, they almost never involve more than 2 touch points for a given task. So when you take this outside-in view, what you see is there really isn't, customers don't think about omni-channel. They absolutely need to feel like they have a consistent experience when working with one brand, but it's rarely in a contained single journey. So I'll put a fine point on this just so that our audience is not sort of left with sort of nebulous kind of mamby-pamby comments. Here's my point. So over 5 years ago, I think it was 6 years ago, but it might have been 7. So I'm just gonna say over 5. We did a big study of cross-channel banking experiences, and we found that over 50% of banking product purchase journeys, which includes applying for a loan, just to give a sense, over 50% involved cross touch point behavior on the part of the end user. Today, in 2025, it's over 90%. So they are moving from one touch point to another regularly, or many of them are moving from one touch point to another. But as I said, the vast majority don't involve more than 2 touch points. Okay, how do you achieve then successful, well-designed, seamless experiences for those customers? This is where the omni-channel aspect comes in my view, based on our research, is while banks shouldn't be thinking that customers have omni-channel experiences, because I would argue they don't, the banks and FIs and lenders themselves should have omni-channel strategy, and they need to have omni-channel capabilities. That's all in the back end. That should be invisible to the customer. Customer doesn't care what your strategy is. They shouldn't have. Maybe they should have some inkling of your brand strategy, but they shouldn't know what your omni-channel strategy is. They should just feel it because it's seamless when they're moving from one touch point to another to apply for a loan or pay a bill on a loan or just pay a bill. All those sort of journeys and experiences. So the bottom line, in my view, based on what we see in our research, is that while banks and FI should be thinking about cross touch point experiences from an outside-in journey mapping standpoint, they should be thinking about omni-channel strategy and omni-channel tech stacks on the back end. And that's what we see really driving success among lenders, FIs, banks in this market.
Thank you. Can we have the poll question?
This is a good question. Single choice is always hard.
So I think we can move ahead. So thank you so much, Peter, for setting up the context. I really loved the point that you made about that how it is so important to have omni-channel overall thing in the customer experience. I also like the point that you spoke about that how it is important for banks to, thank you. So I also like the point that you spoke about that how it is important to have and think about your customer when you're talking about omni-channel experience. How it is important to have a perfect business strategy with respect to the omni-channel experience, and how it is so important to have a very relevant tech stack with respect to the omni-channel. So thank you for setting up the context. Now, Mukesh, let me bring you in here. Okay. Now, from your perspective, how's Nucleus actually helping banks move away from these silos and towards unified engagement hubs?
Yeah. Thanks, Mohit. And I think I'll start with what Peter said. Today's customers don't think in terms of branch, mobile app, or call center. They simply expect continuity. They start a loan application on mobile, follow up from WhatsApp, and expect the branch officers to know exactly where they left off. But in reality, many banks are still trapped in silo system. Silos exist because most legacy systems were not designed to talk to each other. In fact, when the data and interactions are trapped within channels, it causes customer experience to break down. It's like imagine a borrower who fills out a loan form on mobile, then visits the branch only to be asked to start over because the branch doesn't see the mobile data.
Yeah.
This is what is happening and resulting in loss of customer engagement, experience, and so on. So think of an engagement hub as a smart orchestration layer that sits on the top of a core banking system. It synchronizes customer data in real time, connects every interaction across touch points, be it mobile, branch, call center, WhatsApp, email, chatbots, into a single unified journey. Objective is that instead of fragmented experience, banks needs to deliver a seamless, contextual, and consistent interactions, no matter where the conversation starts or ends. And at Nucleus Software, our product offerings, FinOne, Neo, and Finaxia, are designed to help banks move away from the siloed systems through our API-first architecture. And this has over 500 APIs in FinOne Neo, 70 plus APIs in Finaxia, which enables secure and flexible integrations with third-party platforms and internal system. Our product also offers real-time data synchronization, ensuring every touchpoint reflects the latest customer context. This, in a way, supports in defining unified engagement layer, which orchestrates customer interaction across all channels, ensuring consistent communication and messaging. One of our partner in Vietnam faced this kind of silos challenge because there were a kind of disconnected systems between digital and branch channels. With FinOne Neo, they implemented engagement hub that allowed them to start a loan application mobile, receive updates through WhatsApp, and they're able to complete verification at branch without starting over. So this was a huge leap in experience for the bank, thereby delivering continuity, convenience, consistency across every channel. Such capabilities, which are their part of the product, are helping bank and financial institutions to shift from isolated systems to unified engagement hubs. And at Nucleus, our goal is to help banks to move away from silos and define seamless omni-channel journey through these smart engagement hubs. Thanks.
Oh, great answer, Mukesh. And I actually completely resonate with that. When you spoke about that customers really don't think in terms of branch, mobile app, or any app, separately. What they expect is a continuity.
Yeah.
The same way they get actually on platforms like Amazon or Netflix.
Mm.
I still remember where a few of the reports says that actually fewer than 40% of banks say that they deliver consistent engagement experience across channels. It's a shocking truth. And fewer than 15% can actually sustain a journey where customer starts in one channel and finishes in another. So I think the examples that you quoted, what Nucleus has been doing for one of your customers in Vietnam, I think is really makes sense. So now, Peter, over to you again. Let's look ahead. Now, with technologies like generative AI, using variety of LLM models, real-time payments, and digital identity really becoming mainstream. Now, which do you think will have the greatest impact on omnichannel strategies?
So I mean, AI will have the greatest impact on everything in some sense. So there's a and that's and it's ubiquity. It's not quite there yet, but I'll zero it in on the omnichannel aspect. I mean, the maturing capabilities that help solve data problems, which involves some AI, by the way. I mean, there's a generative AI angle here, but I don't think that's the most of it. And certainly not the generative AI angle most of us think about. I'm not talking about ChatGPT for a consumer-facing application or something like that. But I think the biggest challenge that most banks and FIs we work with has to do with data. Not most banks and FIs have access somewhere to the right data, to Mukesh's point earlier. The problem is the systems weren't designed to talk to each other. And so they have a problem of data silos, which in turn then basically inhibits or even prohibits their omnichannel strategy, right? Which is, as we talked about, it's a business strategy. Tech enables it, but it's a business strategy. So that's, I mean, I think when I look at improved data and technologies that use data better and enable interoperability and that, I mean, and there are elements that have been around forever. APIs are not new, but lots of API efforts on the parts of banks and FIs are still broken. I mean, literally API calls that don't go and answer or don't work. So I think it'll be around data governance, data infrastructure, and then the apps and technologies that serve that. I think that's going to have the biggest impact.
Sure. And I think you also, if I can read between the lines, that all these new things like real-time payments, which really set the expectations for instant fulfillment, and generative AI holds promise, but still, I think, is nascent in the omnichannel experience.
Yeah, in the more immediate sense, I mean, real-time capabilities, and that's real-time payments as well as real-time data, which obviously is related. Those will have. I mean, as I was looking at some of our research, in preparation for this and having worked with you all, I mean, real time is going to break and strain more bank systems and even bank teams in the immediate sense than AI will. So some of it's a question of time horizon. So yes, you're reading between the lines correctly. Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much, Peter. That's very interesting way you have put things in context. So Mukesh, over to you now. Can you share some best practices or success stories where Nucleus has actually helped banks redefine customer journeys through hyper personalization?
Yeah, of course. Over the past few years, customer expectations in banking have evolved faster than ever. Today, personalization is not just a luxury, it is actually a baseline practice which has to be there. Uh, uh, this term itself has a very different meaning in terms of it has an elements of enabling our customer to launch the right financial product, helping them identify right customer segments or even individual, communicating to them through the right channel, be it mobile, web, branch, or chatbots, and even communicating at the right moment based on the real-time context. So hyper personalization has a lot of aspects to be taken care of, and Nucleus Software product offerings of FinOne Neo and Finaxia has been helping banks and financial institutions to reimagine their customer journey, certainly for hyper-personal experience with real-time insights. And how do we make it happen is certainly through configurable product workflows that enables banks to define multiple loan products and rules seamlessly. I just talked about API first architecture, that is default standards, which should be there with over 500 plus APIs in FinOne Neo and 70 plus in Finaxia, which helps banks and financial institutions to connect every channel, be it mobile, web, branch, or agent, into one unified ecosystem. It's like customer can begin a journey on mobile, continue it on the web, complete it in the branch without losing the context. There happens to be a thought process of supporting personalized re-engagement. It's like imagine a customer starts a loan application mobile app, but drops off certain midway. With FinOne Neo, the system would detect this and triggers a personalized reminder, maybe through via email, WhatsApp, which is a kind of contextual to that moment where they have left off, and that's the essence through which omnichannel hyper personalization can happen. In fact, one of our NBFC customers who has implemented FinOne Neo collections with embedded predictive analytics, uh, they have enabled early identifications of potential delinquencies, and through a smart communications via SMS, app, and agent channels, they are able to maintain NPS below 2.5%, This was even during pandemic when branch operations were disrupted. So that's the power of data-driven omni-channel personalization, truly in action. And all these examples reinforce a larger truth that personalization is powerful. In fact, hyper-personalization is powerful only when it is supported by omni-channel strategies. And when I'm saying personalization, it is not just about sending messages, sending right messages at the right time, and certainly through the right channel. With FinOne Neo, Nucleus Software continues to empower our banks and financial institutions to deliver customer journeys through this contextual thought processes, connected, and certainly the customer first approach, which is kind of bringing hyper personalization at the topmost priority. Thanks, Rohit.
That
Absolutely,
those
Mukesh.
re-engagement.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say quickly. Those re-engagement use cases are huge, right? I mean, this is the world of omni-channel and cross-channel is a world where incremental improvements drive incremental benefits, but those have big impact on the banks and lenders' own bottom line. The re-engagement is one we've seen in our own research and case studies, and it's absolutely powerful. And just to, while I'm sorry to have interrupted, but Mukesh, also the API first sort of approach is at this point, I think, sort of necessary. As I said earlier, it needs to be a technology that actually works, but that's absolutely the right approach for what banks are trying to achieve.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. True.
Sure. Thanks, Peter. Thank you so much. I really, Mukesh, like the point where you mentioned that how contextual design in your system is so important in your aspirations of delivering an omnichannel experience. I think that's where we see the future of banking, that not in isolated digital channels, but in very orchestrated, personalized journeys that drive both customer satisfaction and operational efficiency. And both of these things, customer experience and operational efficiency, have to go hand in hand. Yeah. I think I would also like to add that how it is so important for banks to unify the customer data into a single actionable profile. How it is also very important that analytics, AI, along with data, must be embedded directly into the customer journeys, and how it is so important to have an intelligence layer which cannot be siloed. So thank you so much, Mukesh and Peter, for your views. Now, my next question yeah, we can have the poll question. Great answer. So thank you. So my next question, so we've spoken about hyper-personalization. My next question is to both of you, Mukesh and Peter, and let's start with you, Mukesh, first. From your experience, what are the biggest challenges banks actually face in orchestrating these consistent omnichannel experiences for their customers, and how they really overcome them if they're able to?
Yeah, Mohit. So I think while technology keeps on advancing, the biggest barrier to a truly seamless omni-channel experience are often not technical. They are cultural in nature. Banks today still struggle with siloed data. I just talked about that. Fragmented systems, disconnected channels, which is making them difficult to deliver a unified and contextual customer journey. I talked about fragmented system data silos. Many banks still operate on decades old core and servicing systems that don't communicate with each other. Each channel's, be it mobile or branch, has its own data model, has their own customer interaction history, which results in inconsistent experiences, incomplete customer views, and difficulty in maintaining continuity, which is the essence. When the customer when the customer switches between the channels. We talked about how to overcome this challenge by unifying the data, and certainly by modernizing the integration part through APIs. The event-driven middleware is one of the options to solve this challenge. The other important challenge is the customer journey across the channels are broken. What I mean here, sometimes customers start a process in one channel, attempt to complete it in another channel. For example, if the customer has applied the loan online and wanted to finish it in branch, but sometimes due to the lack of the real-time context sharing, customers are forced to repeat the steps. They need to re-verify identity. They need to start over again. So all this breaks the trust and reduces the customer engagements. And in order to overcome this, when the contextual flow is not happening between the system, there has to be an API first architecture which acts as a connecting tissue, exposing data from the legacy system, aggregating interaction into the single source of truth. And this drastically reduces the fragmentation, supports real-time orchestration across channels. Even sometimes when the systems are technically connected, they often lack contextual awareness. It's like a customer who has just reported a card default shouldn't receive a marketing offer for a new credit card on the next day, but that's happening because contextually systems are not connected. And this type of challenges are being handled now through embedded Gen AI, predictive analytics, and certainly an intelligent automation in applications. All these things helps to anticipate the customer intent, sentiments, deliver contextually relevant next best actions. So, in nutshell, the orchestrating omnichannel experience is not just about having multiple channel. It is about having one conversation continued seamlessly across the channels. Switching is seamless from one channel to another channel. And thus, when the banks combines this unified data strategy, API first architectures, and AI driven orchestration, I think they would be able to move from the fragmented touch points to seamless omni-channel experience.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mukesh. It's so enlightening, to be honest, because broken journeys leading to a very poor experience from customer perspective. Peter, your views on this, please?
Yeah, so I'll start with the end, which is, consumers don't use the term seamless. But we should continue, but they don't use the word. They don't think about seamless. They do notice when something's broken, though. And we've noticed in our research, so for the past decade or so, banks and the technology companies that help them, that partner with them, but they partner with, have been chasing speed. And speed still matters, right? If I can get, especially because in lending, in banking, customers are never doing it for fun, right? They are looking for a loan or paying a bill or servicing a loan or whatever it might be in service of some other need in their life. So so all of the pain points, slowness or broken experiences affect them adversely and in a way that's different from other industries where they might be doing, and the experience itself is sometimes part of the point. So what I'll say is they've been chasing speed for a long time, and that still matters. Doing it faster or slower still matters. But speed is not the only factor. And if I think Mukesh a couple times in this conversation has mentioned having to ask someone the same question twice in different channels. That feels really terrible for a customer. It's maybe I'm using a little bit of an overcharged word here, but it's a little bit scary. And we see this when we do some qualitative research, right? Where we do some ethnographic research, or when we've done focus groups, where there's something disorienting about a bank who you should be able to trust, or someone you're applying for a loan from, asking you a question, then ask you again. It feels disconcerting. And at that moment, it matters more than how fast it's going. It also is slower, right? It also takes time, but the bigger factor is that. So my first comment would be, and so when I break down, or when we break down in our research, the challenges, to go back to the original question, we break it down into culture, data, and design. the culture is the culture of the bank itself, and that's hard to fix. And no one thinks that any technology solution can solve their culture problems, but it can help to alleviate some of the stress on the teams, and it can help to enable better culture. Being able to solve customers' problems and therefore drive better outcomes, and that has net positive effects on employees as well as the firm as a whole. The data part is something we've already talked about, which is broken data, siloed data, fractured data, and that's a big problem. And then the third one is the design, which is intentionally designing for those cross-channel experiences. And as I said earlier, most of the time, they're not going to go from one mobile app to a website to a branch in an hour trying to complete one task. But they are going to notice when they have that handoff or when they move from one touch point to another, whether it's broken. And unfortunately for banks, although they don't move across 8 different channels, you have to account for 8 different channels, and you have to account for 8 or more different systems. So those are the big challenges, and they're intermingled, right? They're not mutually exclusive, but those are the big ones we see.
Thanks so much, Peter. I really like the point where initially I spoke about that how banks are actually expecting an experience of what they're having in Amazon or Netflix, but in banking and lending, they're not doing it fun. So
right, yeah, exactly. Yes, they need it to be about as intuitive about it. The seamlessness still matters, even though they don't use that word. But that's right. They're not even enjoying it, right? They actually might forgive Netflix for a minute because, well, I still want to watch the show. But for a loan, that's a much, it's a different, and it's also the trust factor, right? The idea that Netflix asks you something twice, you don't. Netflix doesn't. They do a better job designing it. But when your FI, when a brand, especially a brand that you have, that's supposed to be reliable and trustworthy, that's a dangerous game.
Sure, and you also mentioned about the speed is not just the only factor, because customer doesn't see the overall experience as 3 different systems, 4 different systems. They see just one bank offering different channels, when the experience has to be absolutely, I would say, seamless or unified. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So interesting thoughts, Peter. It does back in the question. So, okay, but again, the next question would again come back to you only. And in your research, how have leading banks successfully bridged this gap between physical and digital? And what lessons actually stand out for especially the emerging markets?
Yeah. So what we've seen, it mirrors. I didn't do this intentionally, but it does sort of mirror those challenges. It starts being culture is hard to move the needle on, and no one expects us, the 3 of us, or to solve their culture problems entirely. We can't. But when the first part is a question of, are you thinking about this meaning, are you thinking about your omni-channel efforts as from an outside-in perspective, right? From a customer's perspective of how are they moving from one to another? Because they are, like I said earlier, over 90% of, at least in financial product purchasing, that is including opening an account or opening a loan, or applying for a loan, I should say. So they're doing this. How are you thinking about that from an outside-in perspective? That there's a cultural shift that you need to adjust to there. Then the next step is approaching it as a business strategy. The technology is essential. It is make or break, but it's not where you start. You start with it as an outside-in perspective, and then how does that drive our business strategy forward, how drive our growth? Then the next step is the data question, right? So as I said, it kind of mirrors that. And then the final, it's not a final step, there's no final step, but the other factor is we're seeing leading banks take, again, an intentional approach where they say, lots of banks do journey mapping, but doing it with an eye specifically towards cross-channel experiences and omni-channel capabilities. That is the back-end capabilities and the front-end experience. Doing journey mapping, good journey mapping should always account for that, but intentionally running journey mapping workshops, you're not done then because you haven't solved any problems, but that helps you identify the big and then actually enable that handoff, right? To Mukesh's point, where they apply on a mobile app, and then when they do walk into that branch, they don't get asked the same question because the technology it accounts for that. It might be an end-to-end solution that then accounts for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Really understood this, Peter, and thank you for detailing so extensively on that. And I personally learned the idea of having journey mapping workshops, that how it is so important to have these workshops to have a very contextual design across your systems to deliver an omnichannel experience. So thank you so much for detailing on that. Now, Mukesh, allow me to turn to you for my next question. How does Nucleus Technology Foundation, enable banks to modernize safely, very important, while delivering seamless these omnichannel experiences?
Yeah, I think most of the banks today recognize the urgency and need to modernize. But the challenge is that they can't afford the disruption that usually comes with it. And that's where we at a Nucleus Software advocate a progressive modernization approach, one that is modular, safe, and incremental. We are helping banks and financial institutions to go this step by step. So, in fact, there are 3 stages approach which we normally recommend. Uh, it's like to start with an approach where we need to wrapping of the legacy system with APIs to ensure that the data flows seamlessly in real time across channels, gradually introducing a modular capabilities like digital onboarding, real time payments, self-service portals, each deployable independently. And as the confidence and ROI grows, bank can replace legacy stacks with modern cloud native modules at a speed that fits their operational goals. So this kind of approaches minimizes disruptions while accelerating transformation. Nucleus modernization principle primarily focuses on enabling safe modernization, delivering consistent omni-channel journeys, and ensuring financial resiliency and security. So, how we have achieved this through our composable architecture and certainly API first design and focus on automation, which is being powered as part of our product suites, both FinOne Neo and Finaxia. So when I'm saying composable architecture, so it's like our platforms are built on composable architectures with over 500 plus ready to use APIs across FinOne Neo, 70 plus APIs in Finaxia, which allows banks to modernize incrementally without rip and replace approach, which is kind of not advisable. We do offer robust securities for both infrastructure and application layers across channels with multi-factor authentications so that from one channel to another channel, when the customer switches, security is being taken care of. A key advantage of FinOne Neo architecture is that it supports the entire loan lending life cycles, right from customer acquisitions to loan servicing, and then certainly the loan collections, while maintaining a single continuous flow of the customer journey, ensuring no loss of the context between the touch points. And of course, the emphasis is on automation, which strengthens responsiveness and speed through STPs, straight through processing. So, with this Nucleus Software progressive modernization framework, banks can evolve confidently by integrating with speed and safety in one unified ecosystem. And both FinOne and FinOne Neo and Finaxia exemplify this philosophy and helps banks modernize safely, one module at a time, while delivering an ever-connected customer experience.
So great thoughts and I think very well summarized, Mukesh. So what I understand that FinOne really, along with this architecture, brings together multiple systems of engagement, record, and intelligence under one secure, scalable platform. Yeah. Uh, I also understood that when a customer interacts through a mobile app, branch, or a contact center, I think because the same APIs are getting used by different channels that you deliver, the same workflow logic, rules, and risk checks apply consistently, which eventually delivers a very seamless experience to the customers. Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you for that summarization, Mukesh, and very extensive thoughts on that. Now, my question again to both you, Mukesh, and Peter, and I'll start with you, Mukesh, first. And I would ask you to both elaborate with me on this, okay? Now, in a world where customers expect banking to be as intuitive, like the point I was making, as e-commerce, right? What role you think data, analytics, and AI, generative AI, actually play in enabling this omnichannel personalization?
Yeah, that's very important to understand because in today's world, customer don't just expect personalization. They expect precision. They want interactions to be intelligent, contextual, human-like, regardless of the channel. And that's exactly where data, analytics, and AI all three come together as a core enabler for omni-channel personalization. They transform fragmented customer interactions into coherent, context-aware experiences across every touch points, be it mobile, branch, web, chatbots, even. So data is the foundation for any personalization. And when we talk about data, it's very important for us to understand the unified customer view by consolidating data from every channels like branch, mobile, call center, chatbots into one single dynamic customer profile. It's also very important to understand the behavioral part of the data, which is being captured into the system in the form of interactions, preferences, transaction histories, contextual signals, in fact, device location, time. So let's understand one example over here how data is making the foundation. It's like bank uh, should analyze or bank might be analyzing the browsing and the transaction data to identify whether the customer is searching the home loans. And when the customer next time visits the branch, the system should automatically trigger a personalized offer for a housing product or a housing loan. That is the kind of timing and relevant offering should be made available after studying the data. When we talk about analytics, analytics is all about to what extent we are able to turn the data into meaningful intelligence, which reveals the way, the why part behind the customer behavior. It's like the customer who start the loan online but complete them in the branch have a 20% higher approval rate. Are we trying to understand this pattern? What implication this pattern would have in terms of the insights? How does the bank use this data in the form of cross-channel workflows, thereby making it seamless for customers to switch without frictions? And finally, when we talk about artificial intelligence, it is actually which brings life to this data. So there are aspects of recommendation engines wherein AI continuously suggests relevant products, contents, or action on the real-time basis through behavioral and contextual signals. The conversational AI, which we are now talking about through natural language processing, they are able to create personalized context-aware conversations via chatbots or voice assistant. So in a way, data talks about the what part of the uh, omnichannel experience, the facts, the signals about customer. The analytics talks about the why part. It uncovers the intelligence, the intent, the opportunities residing beneath the data. And the artificial intelligence talks about the how part, how we can make them more personalized, human like responses at the ground so that it really gives an intelligence to the final outcome. So together with this data analytics and AI, this can enable banks to deliver seamless, real-time, and emotionally intelligent experiences, not just digital transaction, but certainly meaningful connection, so that bank can truly deliver human-like personalization to their customer.
Thank you so much, Mukesh, where you spoke about that how important it is to have the data as the foundation for predicting any output that customer or banks really want to have. Peter, your views on this, please?
Yeah, so I feel like there's an emerging theme in this conversation, which is, well, there's a few, but data is one of them. I'm going to actually go to a different, which is end users, consumers, customers, and prospects don't use certain terminology, right? I've mentioned that a few times. They don't use hyper-personalization, for example, but they do, and this is what matters more, they do hold certain expectations. And when it comes to the e-commerce and even digital entertainment experiences they have in other avenues, they don't come to a loan application, thinking I want this to be as hyper personalized as XYZ digital commerce. But they do hold the expectation, and it's a latent expectation, which is really important for banks and FIs to understand. Is they don't come in saying I want a hyper personalized contextual offer. But they come in and they expect you to know them to a relevant and appropriate degree. And I'll pause here quickly and say our research shows, and this is important for any FI, that the risk of a creepiness factor, or the risk of the creepiness factor, is lower in financial services than is in other avenues. I'll give a quick example: a form field for zip code, especially if you as an FI should know them, if they're an existing customer or if they started the application already or whatever. Pre-filling that zip code, pretty simple, right? This is something that some banks have been able to do for the last more than a decade, but many don't. That doesn't have a creepy effect on almost any customer. It has a reassuring effect, and in fact, it just feels natural. Like I said, it's a latent expectation. So what role do data and analytics? I mean, they play the essential role of enabling you to tailor that experience, offer that next best action, next best offer, and to do so in a way that probably actually doesn't surprise the customer, but in a good way. They come with those expectations. I mean, the truth is, I know folks like me say delight your customers a lot. In financial services, you can sometimes delight them, but more often you can meet their expectations and help them achieve their goals. And that isn't as sexy as delighting them, but it's actually more important. Then the last part, the AI, I agree 100% with Mukesh. AI, it'll have a lot of roles. Like I said, it'll have a lot of back-end roles in software development and things like that, integration. But maybe most importantly for the near term is it will enable better recommendation engines. And recommendation engines are not new, kind of like APIs, but they're still, there's worse and better versions, and they can get better or worse. And it's up to the FI to make the right technology decisions to ensure that they're better. So AI will enable better recommendation engines for those applicants. And the result will not be a creepy, sort of scary, like, oh, you shouldn't be recommending. It'll actually feel like, again, it might not be delighting, but it will be, okay, yes, that makes sense. There's a rationale, and then I can move forward, and I can move forward often from one touch point to another, move forward in a cross touch point way.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Peter and Mukesh. And finally, I would like to ask, looking at the time frame of the next 1.5 years or 2 years maybe, what should really banks prioritize? Because we have spoken about a lot of aspects of how data is the foundation, data analytics is very important for tailoring customer experience, how the omnichannel experience and contextual design is important for that. But how should really banks prioritize to ensure that omnichannel strategies deliver really measurable business outcomes? Mukesh, if you can go first.
Yeah, sure. I think the next 12 to 18 months will be the defining moments for the bank. Banks that treat omnichannel as strategic, measurable initiative, not just digital facelift, will set the benchmark for engagement, retention, and profitability. Omnichannel transformation is no longer about technology adoption. It's all about business outcomes. Like we just talked about, it will definitely bring higher customer satisfaction. It will help bank improving their cross-sell rates. It will help in reducing the servicing cost as well. So I think there are four strategic aspects which banks should prioritize, which can definitely create a measurable business outcome. One, certainly, we just talked about hyper personalization, and bank must leverage AI and analytics to segment customers dynamically, deliver hyper personalized offers, experiences, not just at digital level, but even at branch levels. Here, when we are saying personalization, it is not only about increasing the engagements, but it's also about driving the exploration of new product and services. Um, for example, if the bank identifies a customer paying off car loans early, they are a good candidates for home loan and education loan as well, and hence proactive, tailored based offers to be sent across. The other aspects is creating a unified data infrastructure. We just talked about that, which is again a backbone of the consistency. Bank must connect behavioral and transaction data across every touch points, be it mobile, web, call center, branch. And we also talked about the API first strategy is going to play a very crucial role here, breaking silos, definitely enabling real-time synchronization of the customer data. Context-aware experiences would also be created out of that. The third priority, banks should definitely keep on real-time communications and proactive engagements to their customer. So customer definitely look for communications in a very, very close manner now, through transactional alerts, proactive service notifications, context-aware recommendation has to go to the customer. And fourth, but not the least, is customer today expect to start an interaction on one channel and finish it on the another channel effortlessly. That's what we call as strengthening the end-to-end journey and making sure there is a frictionless hands-on, hands-off from one channel to another channel. It's like whether it's a loan application, it's a card servicing, KYC update, the experience should be continuous. And certainly, if the bank is going to align these four priorities, the omni-channel will help in achieving the measurable goals. Here we are talking about goals of engagements, customer retention, and efficiency as part of the system overall. And the banks who are going to invest in this aspects of data unification, orchestration of real time personalization, we're certainly going to lead the market. And over the next 12 to 18 months, we'll see a clear separation of banks who will treat omni-channel as a measurable growth strategy, will be at the forefront and would lead the journey from other banks. Yeah.
Thank you, Mukesh. Peter, your closing answer on this, please.
Yeah, so I have three, not four. So I don't know if that makes me quantifiably less less good at answer. But so I'll do it as a mindset priority, an action priority, and a somewhat tactical priority. The mindset priority is treating omni-channel as a strategic and competitive imperative. And that, you only have so many imperatives. So or you otherwise they're not imperatives. They're not priorities. But I do think, there are going to be some exceptions to this, but the vast majority of lenders should be considering this something that isn't just a nice to have, but is essential in the medium term, the next 12 to 18, maybe 24 months. So that's the mindset element. The action priority is, and I'm not going to say this is not going to surprise anyone who's been listening to this whole thing, but is data infrastructure. That's what it is. And that involves data governance, data infrastructure capabilities, and then additional sort of, I don't want to say supplemental, but complementary technology solutions. So it's all about the data infrastructure, the unified data platform, or at least a set of capabilities that can talk to each other and know where the data lives and who owns it. And then the third one is the tactical one, and that's designing for, and this is specific to each brand. So as I said, this isn't one where there are exceptions. I'd say this breaks up into, there are probably, I don't know, I guess I'd say maybe 7 or 8 different approaches that depends. The first two, every FI and lender should be thinking about, and there are a few exceptions. This last one is unique to different ones, or the shape it takes is unique. And that's designing for specific. So it goes right to Mukesh's last point, which is people expect to start a process, a journey, and they don't call it journeys either, but I want to accomplish something. And it might be something small, it might be something big. opening a loan or taking out a loan, it depends on the size of the loan, but that's a big thing. And then there's smaller, very specific pieces, paying a bill, whatever. But whatever it is, they expect they may well start in one touch point and end in another. And they don't think of that as a big deal. You have to make it so it isn't a big deal for them. And in doing that, you need to design for specific, as I said a few times in the beginning, almost never does it involve more than 2 touch points, at least a specific task flow. So design those workflows around that or for that.
So fantastic. Thank you so much, Peter and Mukesh, for such an insightful discussion. So if I quickly summarize what we've discussed today, that how actually banks have evolved in their omnichannel journeys, the role of new technologies like AI and real-time payments, and how the practical steps banks can actually take to deliver measurable results. So we can have now this poll question. So 50-50.
Speed and scale. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think with that, let's now open the floor for any of the questions from our audience, please. So, Mukesh, would like to have this question?
Just a second. Can you just let me know the question, please? I'm not able to.
Yeah.
It's in the
Can we have
chat,
the
not
question on the screen, please, again?
I can read it out loud if that
Well,
helps.
yeah, it's if you had to pick one metric to prove that an omni-channel strategy is actually working, not a long list, just one, what would that be? Certainly, let me share, because omni-channel strategy is all about customer centricity. It's like to what extent we are able to make our customer experience in terms of seamless transition from one channel to another channel. If I talk about the matrix, it would be in the form of uh, kind of NPS score. It could be in the form of satisfaction index, which we need to uh, uh, consider as part of to what extent we are able to make our customers satisfied with the kind of experience which we have built as part of a digital solution across various channels. So it would be a customer satisfaction index is something which we should definitely uh, see whether our omni-channel strategy is actually working the way we want it to work.
Oh, the answer is perfect, Mukesh. Thank you so much. The next question is, when you talk about hyper-personalization using data and AI, how do banks make sure that they don't cross the line between being helpful and being intrusive? Peter, your views, please.
So, as I said earlier, we have a substantial amount of research that shows that the risk for FIs is lower than it is for other industries. That doesn't mean there is no crossing the line. There definitely is. So, what I'd start with is prioritizing, building out from a zero-party data and first-party data. Again, you could position it or message it in a way that's creepy or cross the line, but the use of the data itself is very low risk if you're using zero party or first party. And zero party is where they are intentionally giving you this data. I want you to know this about me, not just data you have about them. Maybe they're a customer and you have transactions. So that'd be my first answer. And I think you can accomplish your omni-channel strategy goals using zero party and first party data sufficiently that by the time you're in the you sort of not eliminated but reduce that risk greatly.
Oh, thank you. We have one more question from Sanya, which says, we have all been talking about omnichannel for years. Yeah, really. So, but progress still feels slow. So, from where you sit, what's really holding banks back? Is it technology, or is it more of a mindset issue? Mukesh, your views on this?
See, I think I just talked about that as well. It's not the technology. It is certainly the way banks and financial institutions think about that, and it is a mindset part. Uh, it is more to do with the governance. It is more to do with the change management thought process. It is more to do with the way the banks uh, do their risk plannings, risk management planning. So I think it has an element of multiple aspects, because it's like moving from one orbit to another orbit with a complete focus on customer centricity. And certainly the way the current legacy systems are designed, it's not an easy way to move ahead. And with more open mindset, with more customer centric thought processes, I think slowly the bank would be able to define that mindset, and they would transition. They would be able to transition from let's say single channel to multiple channel, and finally to an omni-channel experience. So that is going to transition over the period of time.
Yeah, and I know we're short on time, but I'll quickly say I agree 100%. The vast majority of banks and FIs and lenders, it is mindset, not technology. There are some technology issues, but in terms of what the primary issue or barrier is, everything you said I think is correct about that. I think there's also just been this is part of the mindset question of the math hasn't. There's been a question of, is it worth it? Because they've been chasing, as I said, for about a decade. We as an industry, I should probably say, chase speed. And so if you can keep it in one channel and make it faster, the math was that was better for your bottom line, or top line in some cases. So I think that's a sort of where growth comes from. That's a mindset shift. And the last thing I'll say quickly, I know I'm cheating by going back to the first question, but I liked your answer, Mukesh, for one metric. I think it's a good answer. It might be the best answer in the immediate sense. Our research, so we advise FIs to use CLV, customer lifetime value, as their Polaris overall. And as I said, how useful is it in the immediate sense, right? Because it has a lag to it. But again, that's part of it. Is lenders have been doing good enough with not very good omnichannel or non-existent omnichannel capabilities on many metrics, right? On terms of loan completion rate, it's good enough. But when you start to look at CLV, you start to see that there's this gap widening between leaders and laggards, and that's where we're going to see, or that's why I think we're going to see that progress move. But unfortunately, it won't be for everyone. It'll be for the folks that make the right call.
Thank you so much, Peter, for making your point on how important to have this mind customer lifecycle value, CLV. Thank you so much for that answer. Do we have any more questions? Oh, thank you. So thank you so much for those thoughtful questions from our audience. They really added depth to today's discussion. Now, as we come to a close, I would like to take a moment to express my gratitude, to be honest. First, a big thank you to our speakers, Peter Wannemacher from Forrester and Mukesh Bangia from Nucleus Software, for sharing such valuable insights on the future of omnichannel banking and omnichannel lending. I think your perspectives, one from global research and other from hands-on transformation experience, have really helped us see both the opportunities and the challenges with much greater clarity. I also want to thank all of you who joined us today from across regions and time zones. We know your schedules are demanding. We appreciate the time you have taken to be a part of this conversation. I hope you are leaving with some practical takeaways on how to deliver seamless, personalized, and truly omnichannel customer experiences. On behalf of Nucleus Software and Forrester, thank you once again for being here. We look forward to continuing this dialogue with you in the months ahead. Wishing you all a very wonderful day. And until we meet again, stay safe, stay connected, and happy Diwali in advance. Thank you so much.